Hey guys, hope you all are doing good. Today I have something very interesting to show you. Interesting because obviously this is one of the most oldest characters in the history of comic books. It was created in 1936 by Lee Falk, right? The Phantom has since been a legendary character throughout all these years. The most fascinating thing is Phantom never reached the heights like a Batman or a Superman or Spider-Man or any of those guys, but it still never went out of fashion, right? It continues to this day, and there are a lot of fans. By fans, I mean to say PHANS, right? The Phantom fans call them by that terminology. A lot of fans out there for whom Phantom is the biggest superhero there is, right? So he has his own cult following, and yeah, that's it. That's one part of it, why he's so interesting. The second part of it is he evokes in me a lot of nostalgia because he's one character who I used to read from my childhood, and I have continued reading till now, right? So one of the earliest character who has come to me, whom I discovered early in my life. I think the first proper comic book which I read, which I still don't have it in my collection, is something which my grandfather gifted me on one day when he came back from the supermarket. That was a diamond comic which had Phantom saving a dinosaur. I still remember the story, and it's pretty emotional for me because my grandfather has recently passed away, and I still feel that was my first entry into the world of comics, right? So I thank him for that. So that's why this is special for me. Well, I hope you guys know about the history of Phantom. That is not something which I want to. As you could see, it's all, this whole story takes place. Most of the stories takes place in the wild forest. So the stories of Phantom is from Bangalla, which is an African country. And there are a lot of history of Phantom which has been taken from our own Indian history. Bangalla is very similar to West Bengal, from where Lee Falk got inspiration from to start off Phantom, right? And Lee Falk drew Phantom and wrote and drew Phantom for almost 1936 to his death in 1999, until Tony DePaul took over, right? So it's a long history which he shared with this character whom he created. And by the way, for most people who don't know, Phantom was created after Mandrake, right? This was a character which he created after Mandrake, which was a surprise. And he's one of the first characters who had a skin-tight wala costume, which many of the superheroes now use. And another one of the first character who had no eyes showing from his mask, right? It's a blank mask, and that's what many of the Spider-Mans and many of the characters later started following. So he has set a lot of tradition for a lot of superhero characters to follow. So I'm just showing a couple of Phantom was published by a lot of publishers, right? And he was a running newspaper strip for many years, and I think it still continues to be a prominent newspaper strip in the world, and he has got recognition across the globe, even ranging to, he's a very famous character in Australia, New Zealand, India, right? So it's not just a Western comic book hero, so, right? So that way he's cut across all the borders, right? I don't know if you want, if I need to tell you a legend how he started. I mean, the story is that the Phantom which we currently encounter in these pages is the 21st century Phantom. So the first Phantom was like first Phantom came into being in 1536 during the British era, and I think I remember the name was Walker. Christopher Walker was a sailor, and he got attacked by pirates, and his dad died in that attack, I think, and he goes and kills his dad's murderer and swears an oath on the skull of that person. That's why the skull came into picture. I don't know if you guys know, Phantom has two rings. On the right, I think, is the skull ring, which is for the enemies, and on the left is another ring which is for good. Yeah, like you could see that here actually in the side, right? These are the two rings which he has. This is the second one, which is basically he gives it to people for his protection. So that's the introduction which I wanted to take you through. And other characters, so he's married to Diana Palmer. He has two kids, Kit and Heloise, the 21st century Phantom. Is obviously his dog, which is pretty famous, Devil. I don't know if he's here somewhere. And his horse is called Hero. Yeah, that's Devil there, right there. He's a wolf. Many people mistake him for what do you call dog, right? So that's a pretty much of the history that I wanted to share. And he obviously stays in the skull cave in the forest, which is also shown here, right here, right? And of course, he has been published in, started with King Comics, then there was Gold Key Comics, which is pretty much sought after in India. It's pretty rare. I also keep hunting for it. And these are all in the US, I'm saying. Charlton Comics, even both DC and Marvel published his comics. Even Dynamite published his comics. So an entire set of publishers have exchanged hands for this character. So that speaks volumes of the kind of character this guy is, right? In India, obviously, we know him, and I've shown this in another video that Indrajal has picked up, and more than 50% of Indrajal comics are of Phantom. I have shown that in another video. You could check that also somewhere in YouTube. You can just search and get it. So very interesting stories, very action packed, and a lot of greenery, and the good part is he doesn't have any superpowers, right? It's all a legend, and there's a lot of in a way it's all believable, right? Because it's like generation after generation, the next generation Phantom has to take over, and that's how the legend survives, that he's the ghost who walks, or the man who cannot die, and that's what the tribals call him. But in fact, we as the readers know that he is immortal and he can die, and right, it's all about generation to generation they maintaining this tradition of carrying the Phantom part, right? So that's it, guys. So I'm just showing this is from Egmont. This is another publisher called Egmont, whom I'm showing the books here. I've already shown Diamond Comics, who's the another one, right? But Indrajal is another one which I have. I'm waiting to get my hands on some of the Charlton Comics and Gold Key Comics, and when I do, I will definitely make a video and share it with you guys. But this video is for those guys who have never read Phantom. Definitely pick him up. A lot of history, a lot of interesting stuff about this character, which you should definitely, as a comic fan, get into. And for the ones who've been reading it, this is just a reminder video of picking more of his stuff. So thanks for watching. For all the fans out there, we all love him. He's such an entertaining, such a rich historical character that you just cannot stop loving him. Thanks for watching. Take care.